Let's bring in our panel. Joining me now in Springfield, Massachusetts is lawyer and former Democratic congressional candidate Tahirah Amatul-Wadud. And still with us is Republican strategist and the president of the conservative Hispanic Leadership Council, Ivan Garcia-Hidalgo. So, Tahirah, welcome to the Newsmakers.
Thank you.
There are those who see women doing so well in this election as a rebuke against Trump, as a backlash at, 2 years of Donald Trump and misogynistic comments and policies, and therefore women were more galvanized and they decided to run for office, more women were voting, and that's why women did so well. Is that how you see it?
I think that is the case. We know that women are highly underrepresented in electoral politics. You see that on the state side. You see that in the governor's mansions. You see that on the House and on the Senate side. And with the election of Donald Trump, a couple of things happened. Women recognized that if we don't get in the driver's seat and sort of take control of our own fate, is no one better capable of doing that for us. And so it's exciting to see that the Democrats have taken the House, but particularly with that being driven by women. Utterly exciting, and it is definitely sending a strong message to the American people about what our values and priorities will be for the next couple of years.
But is it necessarily a blue message? Because as our guest earlier on in the program, Mika Mosbacher, the point she made was that, well, you have a female senator from Tennessee as well. So wasn't this election a victory for women, red or blue?
Oh, I agree. And running out here in the 1st Congressional District in Massachusetts, even though it's a Democratic area, you really have to be mindful of the fact that people are deeply concerned about the divisive messages coming out of Washington, D.C., and that the voters want to hear that how you run on policy, as opposed to necessarily just what's happening with respect to party, that women are in these seats, that women are going to take the lead on and helping to advance health care, helping to protect women's rights. It is definitely very significant and relevant across party lines.
Okay, so Ivan, when I give you the example of Ilhan Omar, Somali-American, openly Muslim, practicing Muslim, came to America as a refugee. When she's elected to Congress, even though she's on the other side of the aisle, is it something worth celebrating for you?
Absolutely. I think it's applaudable. I think, look, you have to applaud somebody like that and everybody else. And look, last night a friend of mine lost his House seat in South Florida to a woman as well, the first Ecuadorian American to be elected to Congress. So those things are definitely welcome. You have to applaud them, and I think, like the other guest said, there's underrepresentation by women. I think only 20% representation in federal roles. So absolutely, let's have more women be part of the process. More women win, run and win elections on both sides. Women are not just Democrats. Right. Women are on both parties.
Okay, and when we look at the genesis of it, Ivan, the fact that the Women's March and the Women's Wave and all these movements started in response to Trump saying, grab them by the, and other things like that, and showing a lot of contempt for women. How does that make you feel as a Republican and a supporter of Trump, that this female participation and success in this election came from being in opposition to the president, your president?
Well, we got to look at the numbers. We got to see what percentage of women voted Democrat and what percentage of women voted for Republicans, right? What the breakdown is at the end. But, is there a group that's maybe a little bit more loud than another one? Of course. You have groups like Antifa that go running around and burn things and loot and break, vandalize cities. And that doesn't represent everybody in the Democratic Party, right? So, people marching doesn't represent all the women in the United States. Not every single woman embraces progressive policies and agenda and candidates. That's just reality. It's unfortunate for the Democrats because they wish that was reality, but that's not a fact. The fact is that women can vote however they choose. They're not monolithic and forced to vote Democrat or accept progressive policies, and that'll never be. So, you know, at the end of the day, let's embrace women in politics and make sure they're more participate.
Okay, so Tahirah, I doubt you fully agree with Ivan here. Tell me why.
I don't agree with him at all. And I don't think it's fair to make the comparison to women voting to Antifa. You're comparing apples to oranges. Let's talk about what women really do care about. Women care about addressing pay equity. They care about addressing health disparities. They care about all sorts of issues around healthcare reform, regardless of how that falls, regardless of whether that falls along lines of the Republican agenda or the Democratic agenda. And so when women who are uniquely impacted by these policies decide that we need representation that looks and feels like us, again, regardless of party lines, you are going to see a difference in how things happen in the House, on the Senate side, and on the state side. 100%. We cannot underestimate it. This is not about let's let women run for office, let's let them lead. No. This is about we must encourage women to run for office. We must invest in their success. This is not tokenism. This is representation as it is in its finest form.
Tahirah Amatul-Wadud and Ivan Garcia-Hidalgo. Unfortunately, I've got to move on. We're out of time, but I thank you both for joining us here on the Newsmakers.